it's Allie, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 6 books that I think every writer should read. One of the things that I have noticed both in my own experience as a writer and also in my time in college studying secondary education is that people don't like textbooks, and especially they don't like textbooks that try to teach them how to do something creative. And I was one of those people. I thought that there's no way that a book about writing can teach me how to write because writing is creative and therefore I should just be able to do it, right? Because talent. But no matter how much talent you have or how much dedication you have, you can always use some guiding words and words of encouragement that help you learn the more technical aspects of things, like even creative things like writing. And so that is why I chose these specific books for their merits as books that teach you how to do something without taking your creativity away from you. So let's get into those. The first book that I have is kind of a 0.5, but it is 500 Writing Prompts. It is published by Piccadilly Incorporated, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It is 500 writing prompts. Now, I will say, these are more so introspective about you, and so they're great for memoirs, other types of narrative nonfiction. I will also say what I like to use this for is as kind of interview questions for my characters when I'm doing the initial planning and character profiling phase, because a lot of times when you look up character profiles online, they have some kind of crappy questions like, what is your character's favorite color? What would your character do if someone they loved was in danger? Which are interesting, but there's things in here like, have you ever experienced something that could not be logically explained? Has your character ever experienced something that can't be logically explained? And if so, what was it? And what this book has is little places for you to write out the answers to the questions. So either you can write it almost like a diary for yourself, or you could write it out for your characters, or if you're like me, you could just take the question, type it out into your Scrivener document or Word document, whatever it may be, and write it out that way. Number 2 is 1000 Character Writing Prompts, Villains, Heroes, and Hams for Scripts, Stories, and More by Brian Cohen. It is just a huge conglomeration of a bunch of different character ideas, and they're all written out in handy-dandy classifications by archetype, age, family relationships, everything you can imagine. They even have a section for non-human characters, and so you can just pick your way through any of those by the classifications, and then each one has a number and a little paragraph to give you the idea of the character. So just like with the first one, this is not something that I'm saying you should read from cover to cover all in one sitting, but more so something that you can look at if you're struggling with a character or with a story idea. You can definitely skim through these and try to find a character or a character trait that you can use in your own character. Number 3 is where we start getting a little bit more teachery, in the sense that this is a book that you could just read for fun and for educational purposes, and that is The Lie That Tells the Truth by John Dufresne, I think is how you pronounce his name. Okay, it's Dufresne, like Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption, so sorry John. John Dufresne! Anyway, this is actually a book that I found on a free-to-take book table in the English department of my college. The title really stood out to me, and the fact that it is a guide to writing fiction obviously stood out to me as somebody who writes fiction, and this one reads like a creative writing class, and that's what I really like about this one. The reason why I say that is because he presents a topic, he gives you a little bit of development on that topic in his own words, then gives you some poignant examples, and then he gives you some exercises that you could do. I mean, heck, the very first chapter, the very first thing he tells you to do is to write something before you even start reading. And so this is a great one to help you if you are a beginner, to kind of anchor you, as the book likes to say, into the overall technical concepts of writing. And I'm not talking about grammar, I'm talking about like structure and story design and things like that. And also, if you're somebody who's been writing for a long time already, it is kind of just comical and fun to read. So this is definitely a great one, whether you're just starting out or if you've already been doing this for a while. The next book that I have for you is Creating Character Arcs by K.M. Weiland or Dufresne, I don't know how to pronounce it, but sorry to everybody who I'm featuring in this video. But this one I actually saw a quote was taken out of it for a video essay that I watched about a screenplay or something like that, and the title really jumped out at me because I think there's a lot of books out there about plot structure and things like that, but I haven't seen a lot of things about character arcs, and since a lot of my stories are character driven and character based, this is something that really popped out for me. This one is structured similarly to the other one. She presents the topic, gives you some good examples of the topic, and then gives you a bullet pointed list of questions that you can ask yourself about your story that relate to that topic. Whether it be, you know, the first plot point, how does that, you know, change your character's thought process, the decisions your character makes, things like that. This really takes you through the character's journey, both woven into the plot and also kind of separated from the plot, because you want to remember that your characters have to live and breathe like real people, and real people aren't always just tied to the things that are happening around them. They are their own people outside of that. So this is a really great book for that. If you either struggle with that, or if you're like me and that's just a really cool concept for you, then this is definitely a good book for you. The next one is also by K.M. Weiland. We'll go with Weiland for now. And this one is called Structuring Your Novel, Essential Keys for Writing an Outstanding Story. So these were actually written around the same time, and so they really kind of overlap a lot. That's why I would suggest that you get both if you're going to get one. This one obviously really talks about the character aspect, and then this one talks about the plot structure. And like I said before, plot structure is something that a lot of people debate about when it comes to writing. You can have these massive hero's journey charts, or some people just have a beginning, middle, and end. And this one I think hits a really nice happy medium. She goes through the 3-act structure but expands it into multiple different plot points and character moments and things like that I think both keep it simple enough that you could read this from cover to cover and then apply it to your story later, but also detailed enough that if you really wanted to, you could go in and kind of plot out your story right alongside with the examples that she gives, and you'll be right in the money. Before we get to the last one, I just want to give a quick reminder. I'm not being paid to talk about any of these books. I'm not sponsored by any of these people. Before making this video, I literally just walked around my bookshelves and picked out the books that I thought were the best for young writers and writers of any kind to have in their pocket. So while it's totally great to make money off of sponsorships and stuff like that, this video not so much. But I can try to leave links to all of these on Amazon so that you guys can choose them if you so desire. Anyway, with that being said, on to the next one. This last one, if any of you guys follow me on Instagram, I did a Instagram post about this a little while back because this is my most recent read out of all of these books, and that is The Anatomy of Story by John Truby. Now, John Truby is a big film guy, and so you can kind of tell by the cover, this is very much about kind of screenwriting, but I would say that his 22-step plot structuring outline is probably the easiest to follow and the most entertaining to kind of pick out with your own story. At least maybe I'm biased because this is the one I've read the most recently, but it is probably the best comprehensive guide in terms of taking what all of these other books have and putting them into one book. This gives you writing 101, and then the rest of the books are really great to dive down deep into specific things, because this one talks about character, moral arguments, and plot structure and things like that, but it does so in a really engaging way, similar to some of the other books. Also kind of reads like a creative writing class. He gives you examples, he gives you a lot of really interesting dialogue about the aspects that he's talking about, and then also gives you some things to think about with your own story, some exercises to do, and things like that. So This is a great one whether or not you are writing a screenplay, or if you're writing a short story, or if you're writing a novel. This is a great one to have. So these are the 6 books that I most recommend to young writers and writers of all ages. This list might expand as time goes on. These are just the books that I have read and loved thus far, but there will always be more. And I will see you guys next time.
We're an hamster.